Hi, I'm Neil Priest, and welcome to Dreaming of Chess Mastery, a YouTube channel that reflects on matters pertaining to the world of the adult chess improver. So, one of the most prolific of terms that floats around in our world is that of the chess rating plateau. A lot of people talk about how you work at your game, you make improvements, and then almost inevitably you find yourself on that most dreaded of places, the chess rating plateau, flatlined in terms of improvement. And it seems almost like an inevitable thing where you will improve and you get to a point and then you'll maintain that point for some time, and then the inevitable, slow, but steadily accelerating decline as your faculties weaken through age kicks in. So this is something that we often talk about, and it's a source of great frustration for a lot of adult chess improvers, that you feel you've worked hard but you're not really making any progress. But I suspect there's a lot more subtlety to this idea than really is fleshed out in the environment of the adult chess improver. And that's what I want to do today. So the first thing is that, of course, being on some kind of learning plateau is a sort of necessary evil. Maybe, to my mind, one of the finest books written about improvement of the kind that adult chess improvers are looking for is the book Mastery by George Leonard. Now, he's coming at things from the standpoint of someone who lived and worked in the world of, I suppose, more esoteric thought, but was a practicing martial artist. And he talks about how this sort of mastery mindset fed into his whole life. And to be honest, if you can keep on improving as a martial artist, perhaps that is possible as a chess player too. Okay, chess players will face some sort of decline through age. Martial artists obviously physically face challenges as they grow old. And George suggested that we embrace the plateau, that this idea of showing up every day, of committing to your daily practice and just grinding, will bring its own end eventually, its own results. So that's one way of thinking about it, but I think for chess players there's a problem that we reach a point where we've made progress and we seem to be working and the progress just doesn't come. Is it that we're working the wrong way? Or is it something else? And that's what I'd like to suggest today, that part of what is going on in conversations about the fabled plateau is that really what we should be talking about is not how ratings or our improvement has plateaued, but how it has stagnated. And there's a subtle difference that I want to key into here. The plateau is where you have to put in the reps and eventually there will be this sort of breakthrough after a steady accumulation of experience of doing the reps. Stagnation is something different, and I think this is what a lot of us face. certainly it's something that happened to my chess, where I suppose throughout my life, even when I haven't been playing actively, never mind over the board, even playing online before then, a sort of 10-year period where not a competitive game was played, but I'd still pick up magazines, I still from time to time would read my books. And of course progress wasn't happening then because I wasn't actively practicing. But once I started playing on the internet, the frustration builds up because you are making an effort, or at least you think you are, and when you're playing, you don't seem to get a return. And I think perhaps part of the problem that we need to embrace as committed chess learners is that the learning curve, as it were, the sort of rapid initial improvement that builds up to the inevitable plateau, and then there will be another phase of rapid improvement when you add new sort of stimulus. In the case of chess, I'm starting to work on the Woodpecker 2 program, and maybe that will see some sorts of results. But I suspect unless I take care of something else, it won't. And this is the critical point that I want to make today. And this is the critical point underlying what I would call rating stagnation. That we make progress and then we reach a point where our play becomes, I suppose, going through the motions. Consider you've learned a new opening, and at first you have to think really hard. It's all new, you're trying to remember the lines, and then you get to a stage where you're just banging out the moves. And that's really the big point. You're not thinking anymore. It's become not a good sort of intuition or a helpful memory, but it's become a laziness. And I think that is the underlying cause behind this stagnation. That what initially fuels our improvement, because it is not just active learning, but also a focused effort to bring it to bear to the games we play, after a while becomes just, well, routine. It's a bit like people learning to drive. At first it's all very difficult. I mean, I say this as someone who never really learned to drive for a variety of reasons. But initially it's all very difficult. And then you are driving in a sort of ecstatic reverie because you've cracked the code, so to speak. You've mastered skills. And then as the years pass, and it becomes a rote thing. And in fact, your driving at that point becomes worse. A lot of people have spoken about this. Certainly Anders Ericsson, the mind behind the whole deliberate practice research world, or one of the minds. He's certainly spoken about this. About why you might be better off seeing a newly qualified doctor rather than Mr. Experience, because Mr. Experience is not really thinking. Now that's not true when you look at grandmasters playing their games and then talking about it afterwards, and they're talking about intuition. The point is that they are rapidly, intensely focused, and there's an interplay between that sort of focus and conscious thought and ideas bubbling up intuitively. But I think for us adult improvers, what happens is we make this progress and it kind of happens fairly organically and quickly. And we get to this point and then we stop thinking. Certainly consider your worst sort of spells of rapid or blitz chess, the worst moves that you make, the moments when you go on tilt. And very often, that is very much what the problem is, that you were playing a game mindlessly. What to be done about that? I think that word mindlessly gives us a good clue about how we really can make rapid and immediate progress. It is by becoming, once again, mindful about our chess and perhaps engaging in practices that will make us more mindful when we're playing or put us in the right sort of frame of mind before we start playing. Perhaps doing a little bit of that, leaning into that, will make all the difference. During the week, I read a newsletter from Mindcreaser, the site Mindcreaser, which is sort of sports psychology and mindfulness practice with an emphasis on chess. And Benjamin, the author, talks about, I'm not even going to begin to try and pronounce his surname because I always forget. Porto, there I tried, something like that. Anyway, he talks about how one can do a sort of sitting practice where you just sit, not meditating, you simply just sit down and the activity that you're doing is being seated. Grandmasters seem to do that when you watch, as I was, coverage of the Olympiad, and you see people just sitting in the chair, kind of, I don't think they're emptying their mind, but just becoming centered, becoming ready to play with some sort of, I suspect, mental routine that will kind of tune them into the game. Perhaps that would help. And then when you're playing, trying to just play chess. Not concentrating on chess, but just playing chess. That's the target that we're aiming towards. And perhaps training that by a sort of sitting, meditative, mindful type of practice, followed by some kind of immersion in chess thought, and then trying to push the boat out, where you do it for 5 minutes and work up towards 10, something like that. That might make all the difference. And if we then play chess when we're in the right frame of mind, at the right energy levels, and stay focused throughout our games, well, I think it may be that the plateau that we seem to be languishing on, the stagnation that we're wallowing in, can be overcome. So that's it for this week. Let me know what you think. Actually, I have another video that I filmed a little while back. I never posted. So perhaps there'll be 2. And I am going to try and get back into the habit of posting these videos regularly, for the time being sort of philosophical musings rather than pure chess content. But who knows? Maybe I'll find out how to do these rather clever things where you have split screens and stuff like that, which I don't believe is beyond my Luddite technophobic mind. But for the time being, that's it for this week. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Until the next video, ciao.